Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, Sunday edition. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils network. I see you laughing.
The abbreviated opening, like there's no Arlette, there's nothing else. It was just like the boom, let's get right into it. I like it.
It's been this way for a little while.
Probably, I don't know, man.
You just don't pay attention.
Look,
listen. I'm and crew. You're lucky. I'm even like the,
you're right.
The background
you are right.
character, the background character of like the Star Trek. I'm like, that's why I'm wearing red tonight because I'm the first guy they send out that gets vaporized by some alien.
Well, actually, I'm on edge right now because it's a 1-1 tie between Michigan and Penn State, and I'm just on edge. I'm off my game. I'm emotionally invested in this game. And, if Penn State wins, I'm going straight to Allentown, not only to celebrate, but to bring Luke Hughes to Newark in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I was kidding.
Someone will complain.
Dude, someone would be like, that Sam Wu's such a jerk. He's going to really go pick up – I bet you picked him up in like a low-class car and fed him McDonald's, and now he's going to be terrible. What's up, everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Twitter Live and live, man. This is what happens when
live. Yeah, you get all this banter, the idiocy.
Of a giddy, happy little team because, baby, we made it. We made it. Wow. We in the playoffs, baby.
Feels weird. Feels weird because we've been wanting this for so long, and we went from the way we were the last couple seasons and then the way we were last season to now, being in the playoffs, clenching it with a win, thankfully, instead of backing in, even though technically I guess we backed in. But then the fastest team to 100 points in the least amount of games. Like, holy crap, talk about a turnaround. For this team.
Crazy. And, I have to give a shout out to a couple of people that went to American Whiskey last night. Stephen Engel and Ted both said that, Stephen said that American Whiskey was friggin' mobbed last night. And then Ted agreed, yes, it was. That he stopped by very briefly. Guys, next time you stop by, I don't know if either of you or anybody stops by and gives a chance to say hi to Sam Wu. Contrary to Twitter belief, Sam is a very nice person. A very knowledgeable and kind human being, and does not have fake Sam Woos walking around the bar that will encourage him. So there's no burner Sam Woos walking around the American Whiskey. You'll see the real deal, and he'll be more than happy to say hello and shake your hand.
As I'm making burner accounts, making burner accounts on Twitter.
Yeah, at least the burner accounts that you make are very encouraging, though. I will say that. I mean, if you're going to make a burner account, and I love that you follow your own burner account. Like, isn't that supposed to be a no-no? You're not supposed to do that. But anyways, yes. What a huge turnaround! Like this has been one fun season. It hasn't been 17-18, and this is something that I want to talk about. Is the Sam just got up in disgust. And Michigan just scored, I bet.
Michigan probably just scored. Yeah.
Michigan scored.
Anyways,
well, guess he's not either that or he's going to go get Luke Hughes right now.
Yeah, I think he's off to go get Luke Hughes.
So hopefully he muted himself so you can't hear him cussing in the background. But
I'm sure he did not. So it's going to be interesting. He's going to Grant Marshall the podcast.
Yep, there it is. Michigan won. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna Grant Marshall the podcast real quick, are you?
I almost did. That was real emotion. That was real emotion. When I saw that, I was like, ugh. Hate Michigan.
Oh, we saw.
Hate Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, that means Luke is not coming anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Buddy. To be honest with you, I'm glad that Penn State didn't tear his ACL in that game. There was a couple big hits. I'm like, stop it, not him. You can go soft on him.
Anyone but Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just put him in bubble wrap and save him for the remainder of the playoffs, if you
for
wouldn't
the
mind.
tournament. That
But
would be nice.
before Sam abruptly ran away in disgust, one thing that we want to talk about, or one thing I want to talk about tonight, is some of the weird comparisons that are going on with the 17-18 season and how different this season is and how different this team is than that 17-18 Devils team. Because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about thinking like this, and maybe it just might be an opinion, but in 17-18, when the Devils made the playoffs, it was like, all right, cool, man. Well, unexpected. Taylor Hall, wow. All right, he's doing everything and really carried the team, and I'm glad we made it. Okay, cool. We'll build off of this. This will be, we'll get beaten up by Tampa Bay, and that's cool. All right. This year feels way different. Obviously, the team is way better than the 17-18 team. There is one stat that they hold in common where I believe last night's come-from-behind win beat the record that was previously held by that 17-18 team for the most comebacks in a season by the Devils in the franchise history. And I think the comparison really stops there, in my opinion. But I would like to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Well, I think compared to you kind of alluded to it right away that Taylor Hall kind of carried all of this in 17-18, where we have a very well-rounded team. Mm-hmm. Everything from we have 4 solid lines that we can slot guys into and out of, at least definitely at the third and fourth line, but even the first and second line seem to be a little bit very much fluid, where they'll change it up when need be. I don't know. To me, it just seems like we're just a more complete team versus that team that was in 17-18 that we were surprised to get there. We really weren't even supposed to get there this year, but here we are with this complete team that we're just like, who the hell are these players? They finally woke up. Mm-hmm. So I think the real test will be doing it again next season. I don't want to skip past these playoffs because who the hell knows what we're going to do. But I think the real test is going to be doing it again next season.
Yeah, making sure that this isn't just a flash in the pan. Like, all right, they had an awesome season. Jack was playing. And the things that really go into account into this season, I think the coaching changes for the supporting staff were big. I think having a healthy Jack, a healthy Hamilton, who, congratulations to Dougie Hamilton for breaking the Devils' record for most goals by a defenseman, who he surpassed Scott Stevens by scoring his 19th goal yesterday. This team just feels different, man. Like they feel deep. And even Miles Wood said after the game, he's like, he's been here for 7 years. And he's like, this is the deepest team he's ever been on. And it's true, because if you look at how, like, even the fourth line, like Sharon Govich getting moved to that fourth line and bringing in Boquist, taking out Boquist, bringing in Sharon Govich, taking out Sharon Govich, like being able to manipulate the lines to be able to play against teams that may be a little bit heavier. Miles Wood getting into a fight last night with Brady Tkachuk is great. It's amazing.
Love it.
Because that's something that we've been missing, that he's not been doing for a while, and I'm glad he actually jumped back into that role. If you're not going to score goals, go out there and stick up for everybody,
Yeah, score points with your fists if you have to, especially against someone like Tkachuk, who could just be such a pain in the ass on the ice. We've been Sam specifically has been carping about the lack of beef on this team, and here you have Miles Woods finally doing it.
Yeah, and Timo's been laying people out left and right too. Let's not forget about that. Like, he's leading the team in hits since he's come over, I believe. And he's top in the league in hits anyways, but I'm excited, man. They need to tighten up a few things. They need to figure out what the hell's going on in their own zone defensively, and just tighten some of those little gaps up. Get back to playing a more aggressive, speedy style that they were playing especially when they were on that 13-game heater. Like, they were all over everybody, constantly pressuring them. Not sitting back, getting a lead and not sitting back, like getting a lead and still pressuring. And I feel like they've gotten away from that, especially in the last 10. But I don't know. I feel like this team has a hell of a shot to make a decent stand in the playoffs. I won't say how far. I will say they'll go on a run, but I won't say how far.
Yeah, the team will obviously determine that. I feel like that's stating the obvious, but this team has the potential to really go on a tear. I mean, we went on a 13-game heater, like you said earlier in the season. You only so the
I'll take over here. Sorry, Shorts guy. Your internet brought to you by the New York Rangers.
I know. James Dolan.
Yeah, what a loser that guy is.
He's sabotaging you. You had a great point, and he sabotaged you.
Yeah.
I know, and I don't even know where it left off. That's the worst part.
Were you talking about not having one of those facial recognition, software at the entrance of Madison Square Garden to spot out your enemies?
Sure. Because that's
All right,
what we all do,
so-
don't we?
Go ahead, Shorts guy. Try again.
I don't even know where I left off. I'm just this is just James Dolan has ruined my.
Well, there we go.
Oh, and that was 100% proof that Dolan was listening.
Yep. Conspiracy theories. We all
Said
got
his
him.
name too many times. Said his name too many times.
I know. Yeah, James Dolan. What a jerk.
It's going to be like Bloody Mary. He's going to come out of your computer and ban you from MSG.
Oh man, not being able to go to the dump. Whew. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only good scene in that Godzilla movie was when that dump gets blown.
So is that from Godzilla? That whole scene?
It's from the bad Godzilla. Yes.
Okay.
The Matthew Broderick Godzilla from I forget when that was.
Okay. I'll have to play that clip at American Whiskey on the 30th.
I think yes.
We should
Please,
just have
let's
it on a
do that.
loop. We should just have it on a loop. We should just have it on a loop. And with Nelson once, pointing at
Yes. Can we please? Oh, where's that? I gotta look where that's streaming.
I'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll put it on a loop at American Whiskey. Anyway, we're all over the place tonight. Sorry, folks. Yeah. I'm just a little emotionally spent right now. I may have to take a time out.
I got to say, it might seem like we're very subdued tonight, but I feel like yesterday was like a good – like everybody partied. Everybody had a great time. Everybody was like – I had a couple of beers last night celebrating with you on Devils After Dark. And it was a lot of fun. And you could see at American Whiskey, people were having a great time. By the way, did you buy our friend a couple of beers that after we talked on Devils After Dark there, Sam?
Rain
hold
check.
up your end of the bargain?
Rain check.
Dude.
Rain check.
No wonder what. No. This is why you get hated on, man. You can't say. You should have just done it.
Rain check.
Rain check. All right, fine. Rain check on their end or your end?
Their end.
Oh, okay. All right, then you're fine.
Yeah.
And then they're listening and they're like, "How do you hear me?"
What a jerk! What a jerk!
That's not true. He just looked at us and said, "Beer Baron has no idea what he's talking about." But honestly, I feel like I woke up this morning. I was super happy. I was like just very happy about where the Devils are sitting right now. I'm happy about how the team looks going into the playoffs. With those things that we're talking about before, about just fixing those little glaring issues that they've been having, like leaving people wide open in front of the goaltender, or just giving up odd man rushes, or doing things that are, giving away the puck in a neutral zone, or not really establishing a power play, or not really getting, contested shots on goal, or not. I should stop, right? I should not keep going and pointing out the flaws that we've had over the last 10 games. It's just these little things that add up to these stupid losses. And you have like times where, they look dominant in a game, and when they went up 3-1 in Ottawa against Ottawa last night, they looked dominant. They looked great. And then all of a sudden it's like it just kind of peters out. And it's like, all right, what happened to like sustaining that? What happened to being able to like continue that pressure, continue doing what you're doing, as they were doing at points in the season? So I don't know about you guys.
I was sorry to interrupt. Those are the things they're going to have to correct going into the playoffs, and hopefully they will do that, because they're going to need to be able to make those shifts real quick, because if they don't, a series you can lose a series very quickly if you don't.
Yeah,
make
and
the
you can be
changes you need
embarrassed.
to. Oh,
You can
very
be
much so.
embarrassed. And here's the thing, but let's not focus on the negative. Let's focus on the positive, right? Let's focus on the things that carried us to this point in the season. Let's focus on the fact that Jack Hughes is starting to heat up again with 9 games left in the season, which is perfect timing. Let's talk about the fact that Nico Hischier, if he's not in the conversation for the Selke, that'll be embarrassing for the NHL, and how his game continues to evolve. How Dougie, although sometimes can be questionable defensively, his offensive prowess has really shown through this year, and just how the team is when they're playing when the Devils are clicking on all cylinders, they are one of the most dangerous teams because they can kill you in transition. They can flip you in a second. You could be putting pressure on, and the next thing you know, the puck is going down the other end of the ice, and they're scoring quickly, like using that speed. And that's the thing is, if they face the Rangers in the first round, which at this point we could all assume that it's going to happen because I think Carolina picked up a point tonight, so that means they're 4 points, 5. I'll have to look how many points they are ahead of the Devils right now. 5 points ahead of the Devils right now. But with
prepared. Anyway,
let's see.
Continue.
Oh, 3 points. 3 points. They're only 3 points up.
80.
So they're 3 points up over the Devils, and
with the game in hand.
With the game in hand
too.
Devils, Rangers both have 73 games played. Carolina's got 72 points or 72 games played. So the Devils have a little ground to make up if they want to take over that top spot in the Metro. And I actually brought this up last night. Is it more important to try to make that push for the top of the Metro to win the division, or is it more important to tinker with the lines, to not worry if you slip down into third place, but especially, by the way, considering the fact that this team has a better road record than they do home record. So is it okay to let, be like, hey, listen, let's go in there. Let's tinker around with the lines. Let's try to get everything really polished up. If you know who your starter is going to be, have like Vitek in there for, 6 out of the next 9 games. Blackwood, assuming that he's going to be the backup in those other 3, and really start to polish this up? Or do you make it like a series push for the top of the Metro?
I don't know, because things are shaping up right now. You make a push for the top of the Islanders the way it's right now, or you third and you play the Rangers. So you're getting technically a local rival in the first round. If there was an opportunity, let's see, 82-83. So unless overtake the Islanders and Pittsburgh in that first card spot, then we'd play Pittsburgh. I like my chances against Pittsburgh much better than the Islanders if we can get to the top of the Metro.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I know Geeky's saying like, you want to finish first. You want to try to finish as high as you can, period. That's true. Yes. And I'm not saying that they should not try to finish as high as they can, because losing can also become a habit too. You don't want to get into a funk because you're messing around with the lines too much, and you don't want to get into a position where next thing you know, you're like losing, 7 out of the next 9, and you're going in on a broken wheel going into the playoffs. Like, you don't want to do that either. So, yes, I agree. You want to finish as high as you can. You want to finish as best as you can. And I believe you can accomplish both of these things at the same time. You can tinker with the lines and make a push to try to get to the top of the Metro Division. It's just finding what is more important right now. Because if you go into a game and you're like, all right, listen, VTech could probably use the rest before we get into the playoffs, or VTech could use another start to keep that momentum going into the playoffs. And we really need him because we feel like he's our better option to win this game, to win the Metro Division. So those are the little decisions that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like completely revamping the top and second line and moving people around to the point where it's detrimental to the team.
what I think, Beer Baron, is that
if you're not first, you're last. I like that. Nice, Ted.
No, I think you need to go in more of a winning mindset and doing the good habits that breeds winning. And what I'm trying to get at is you should go after the division. But you should go after the division and still tinker the lines at the same time if you need to. I don't think you're really throwing the games or anything by tinkering. I think this is the time to take risks, but also find ways to win and win the division. You want to go in with momentum, I think. It's maybe if there's game situations, between now and the end of the season. I'm trying to. Sorry, I'm doing 5 things at once because I'm working.
No.
Listen,
and here's the funny thing too, because with 9 games left, I'm trying to figure out how far. Okay, let me put it this way. So, let's say Lindy's looking at the team, and he's like, you know what? And this is not the NBA. Let's make this clear.
Yep.
I think that's a stupid comment for me to say, but the load management is something that's very prevalent in the NBA, right? Superstars sit down, blah, 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 blah. You don't really see that in the NHL, if ever, at all. Thank God for that, too. But if you have somebody that's a little nicked up, do you possibly say, like, all right, so-and-so could use 1 or 2 games off, get themselves a little bit healthier, knowing that maybe you put somebody out that's I don't know, more important to the team. I'm trying to figure out how to say this, right? I'm trying to figure out how to put this. So we just keep pushing, you keep pushing. But if there's somebody that needs that extra rest, or if there's somebody that's like, all right, well, maybe we could sit down so-and-so, whether, let's say, Marino's a little dinged up, and you're like, all right, maybe we need Marino to sit. But sitting Marino and putting in Smith or something like that is going to be not as effective as having Marino out there. But you want to do it because you want to give him rest before the playoffs. So those are those decisions.
I see.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I feel like I'm talking in circles. But.
That's usually in the last week of the season. Beer Barn. I mean, when you know what the positionings are, between now and then, I think it's really just try to win as many games. But by the time you get to game 80, 81, and 82, depending upon what the standings are. Yeah, I would start resting players and start playing some of your depth players to get them some reps in.
Because let's say Luke Hughes becomes available, right? And especially we're coming down the stretch of it. And are you in a position right now? Because obviously, if you're out of the playoffs, this is the time of year that you bring up everybody. You bring up all the guys from the AHL. Everybody gets their cup of coffee, and you kind of get to see, here's this guy, that highly touted rookie that everybody wanted to see. All right, now you get to see him. Like, this would be the time to see Simone Nemec or Simon Nemec. So if Luke Hughes becomes available and he's ready, like Michigan loses within the next couple of days, and he's like, you know what, he already stated that he wants to go pro as soon as the season's over. Do you put him into the lineup for a couple of these games? Do you really mess with the chemistry like that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you put him in a bottom 6 position, it's still going to be impactful to the team. But is it one of those things where, hey, we need to see what he has just in case. If he can handle his own, maybe he steps into the playoffs. I think Cal McCarr did something very similar to for the Avalanche when he first came in.
So, I think we've done some flip flopping with lines and defensive pairs and bringing guys in and taking them out in recent games. That I don't know how much that would mess with the chemistry per se. But if you can win your games now, and if we get to a point where by I don't know, next week, where we're pretty locked into where we're going to finish, that's when you'll start maybe doing that and bring in a Luke Hughes if you have that opportunity. Or maybe against a Columbus or a Washington or a Buffalo if they're out of the playoffs for those last three. Maybe not the Washington game because you do want to win your last game going into the playoffs. Chicago is potentially one of those games too, but we've got that game against Pittsburgh could be the last. I don't want to say meaningful game, but could be one of the last games that we're playing against a team that's striving for something aside from the Boston game, which is that following Saturday. Boston's got their spot wrapped up, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying. It's if Pittsburgh might be that last team that's fighting for a place in the playoffs, depending on where they are in about a week. So where you could have that potential to do that, but reevaluate at the beginning. After the Winnipeg game, look where you're at and see where your standings are going to be. If you're going to have enough momentum or if you're going to have forward motion up or down, if you lose this and that, and then maybe just start testing some things out going into the playoffs because you can do it in practice for so long, but you can't do it in a game. And if you have a game or two where you can throw a Nemec or a Luke Hughes in just to see what they can do. It's not like you're like completely revamping all the lines. We're talking about maybe 2-3 players at max.
Yeah, and giving Holtz maybe another shot. Or bringing him up and just saying like, "All right, bud, like let's go." Because and that's the other thing too is the inevitability and unfortunately, knock on wood, of injuries that could happen. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to know like what do you have in the cupboard? Like, do you want to have a game like you said? Bring one of these guys in, let them play a game or two towards the very, very end.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, though, which is kind of like an interesting situation, because Pittsburgh's at 82 points, and Florida's only 3 points behind them right now. Buffalo, Washington, both 6 points behind, and they're losing ground. Washington's already got 74 games played, so the chances of Washington making it, they'd have to completely run the table, I think, to make it in. Yeah. Same thing with Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo's going to make it in either, obviously. Ottawa, same thing. It seems like outside of that, Florida, Buffalo, Washington, Ottawa, I mean, all those teams, Florida has a better chance of making it in. Those other teams really have to run the table. Florida's a scary team if they make it in because they're a big, heavy team. So Pittsburgh, I don't know, man. Pittsburgh's going to be fighting. So that game that the Devils play them, I think you nailed it on the head. I think they're going to be they're probably going to be in a position where they're going to have to play. They're playing for their life, or they could be in that position. So it might not be the game to bring in some new guys to test them out.
No, and maybe not that you want to lose to them, but maybe if you have the opportunity, and I'm sure someone's going to disagree, but throw them in against Boston. Throw them in against the best of the best and be like, all right, let's see what you got. Because at that point, especially at that point, if we have our spots solidified and you really want to test a player, be like, here you go. Go against Boston. This is a potential playoff matchup.
Wait, the Panthers are eliminated already? How are the Panthers eliminated when they have 79 points and Pittsburgh has 82? And they're only 3 points back from Pittsburgh.
No, they're not eliminated.
I don't think they were eliminated, guys. Ted, I don't think they were eliminated. What they were talking about is that the Devils couldn't fall out of playoff contention at that point. So when Panthers lost, they weren't eliminated from the playoffs. That just ensured that the Devils had 0% chance of falling out of the playoffs. Like if they didn't win a single game for the rest of the season, they couldn't be caught by anybody else. I think that's what that meant.
Yeah, the Panthers still have a fighting chance. They're only 3 points behind Pittsburgh, so they definitely can. They can definitely make some noise. I mean, they're at 73 games played, so is Pittsburgh. So, yeah, the Panthers still have a chance. Like the outside chance, would be Buffalo with 76, and then like you said, Washington. Those are the last two dying vestiges of potential Stanley Cup playoff teams. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be against even trying to, maybe not both at the same time. But if Luke Hughes is here in time and you want to throw him out against Boston, like that's the best of the best. Maybe do like an 11 and a 7 like we did last night and keep him as the 7th defenseman. and see what he can do against the best of the best, especially if at that point there's no real going to be any change in our standings in the playoffs. But again,
Yeah.
that's something the coaching staff has taken consideration, and I'm sure they will. But if a player needs a rest in that last week, I'm not against that either, to get them ready for the playoffs and to be good to go.
Like I said, man, it's all about you want to make that push for that top spot. The Devils winning the Metro, I think, would be huge. But the thing is if they don't, it's in years past it would have been like, man, this team's so good at home. When they go on the road, they're garbage. They please, they need to win this home ice. They need to get home ice. This year is one of those years where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're far better away from home. They've proven that all season. If they haven't, they got to be close to breaking that record of most road wins in a season. Somebody else out there in YouTube world or something like that could look that up and let me know, but they got to be close to that record. And this team is different. Like in years past, they would go down by a goal and you'd be like, oh, damn it. All right, well, pack it up, boys. It was fun to watch this game, but now it's over. Dude, they'll be down by 2 going into the third, and you're still like, yeah, they have a good chance. They have a good chance. Or they'll be down by 1, and with like a minute left, and you're like, they'll tie it. You'll be all right.
We used to get worried in the last 5 minutes when they were up a goal, going, how are they going to allow this game to slip away? How are we going to? How are we going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory tonight? This is how bad this team was for years. But yeah, now like you go into the third down 2 goals, or you go into the last minute of play down a goal, and you're like, all right, well, who's going to score the game-winning goal, and how close to the death of the game is it going to be? Like now, that's just like the inevitable. Which that's a type of experience that come playoff time, I think that could be huge. Like if there's a must-win game that we have to win, going into an overtime like that. Like, holy hell, that's going to be a lot of fun watching this team. Now, do I want the inevitable, potential heart attack for that? Not a chance. But that'll serve us well come playoff time.
Yeah. Thank you, Nunez. 31 is the record. The Devils need 5 more to tie. Listen, man, even if they don't tie it or beat that record, it's still a hell of a record. I know a lot of people are saying, listen, it would be huge, and I'm not disagreeing with that. It's not like I don't want them to win the Metro. 100%, that'd be awesome.
5 more games. 5 more away games.
I mean, yeah, and they have to win all 5 of them, and they can. Yeah. They can do that. And, I mean, honestly, this team feels different. Now, I know a few people in the chat were saying, they feel – Mark was saying and Christopher was saying that the Rangers kind of scare them in that first-round matchup. I disagree. There's one thing about the Rangers that they can't handle well. It's speed. Yes, they have Kane, and they have Tarasenko, and they have Panarin, and Zibanejad, and they have all these guys that could score. Fox, whatever. Doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me. What the Devils have that really gives them fits is the fact that they can be on top of them and they're faster. The only thing that really scares me about the Rangers is their power play. Kreider and Kane and all those guys in their power play. Their power play is scary. Don't get me wrong. And do I feel like I could walk out there and be like, Devils could sweep the series? No, I think it'd be a hard-fought series, but still, they don't scare me like they have in the past in certain areas.
Yeah, it's we have quite the nasty habit of taking bad penalties at bad times. So that's potentially scary. I think a scary thing with the Rangers too is if Shesterkin can find his game again and play like the Shesterkin of last year, that could be a little bit scary as well because he has that ability to just kind of take over a series as a goaltender. But other than that, the Devils have the speed to take on and match the Rangers. It really also would not surprise me if this series were to go the distance. And whoever was to win this series would lose the second series because of the emotional letdown of a rivalry series that we're going into the first round with. So it would not shock me if the Devils, whoever wins the series, just completely sputters out in round 2, only because that emotional letdown. It could also be an emotional high that could really kind of propel them forward as well, What I
I was
like about
just
this
about to
Devils
say.
team what I do like about this Devils team going into the playoffs, even though they're young and inexperienced, they're young and inexperienced. They don't know any better, which is a negative, but could also be a huge positive. Like, what do they know? Like, they have nothing to compare this to, so they could just go into this so loose to be like, all right, let's just see what we can do, and then just next thing you know, it's the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're like, holy hell, how did we get here? So to me, a lot of people are kind of talking about their inexperience as being a negative. Billy Dean harps on it all the time on Mondays on Hockey on Tap, but I see that as sort of an advantage because they don't really know any better. So why not just go and win?
Yeah, and I mean, you got guys like Palat that you bring into this lineup. You know, there's a lot of guys that have playoff experience, and I think Palat is. I could be wrong about this. I think it's the only one that has cup experience, or at least no, that's wrong. Because Tatar played in the Stanley Cup Finals with the when he was a Canadian
With Vegas.
and
And
Vegas.
Vegas too, wasn't he? Yeah, Vegas.
Yeah, and Eric Halla, I believe too. So there's guys that have experience in a room.
Yeah.
Dougie Hamilton. There's guys that have experience in a room in the playoffs that are going to be able to like talk to somebody like Jack. Even Nico and Jesper Bratt in their rookie season. Miles Wood, Severson. But I mean that. No offense, but that experience was like, hey, you guys want to go get beaten up by the Tampa Bay Lightning? They're going to go
should have
beat
started
the crap
Louis
out of
Domingue.
us. Oh,
Biggest mistake of that series, not starting Louis Domingue because he was lights out against Tampa all season.
Yeah. That was and to go back in the beginning of the show, we talked about that, like the comparison to that season compared to this season. Like it literally felt like, oh man, I'm just happy to be here. Like it was just, yeah, all right, cool, we're here. And then we lose and we're like, all right, that was fun. What a season. Taylor Hall, huh? All right. This season it's like if they lose in the first round, I think I would be way more pissed off and upset about it than I was in 17-18. Because it's going to feel like, you know what, they had more. They have a solid chance on going on a decent run here. They didn't get it. They didn't sneak into the playoffs this year. They didn't just like back in like, ooh, we made a second wild card, and now we're gonna get stomped by Boston. Like, no, they legitimately played solid. You know, or depending on what your take of a solid means, but they've earned their spot in the playoffs.
They have.
Okay.
They have. They have absolutely earned their spot in the playoffs. I think I would be bothered by a first-round exit if it was at the hands of the Rangers because we won't hear the end of it. Billy Dean would every Monday night remind me of that. That I think would bother me. If it's against anyone else, I think that we're solidly here in the playoffs, but I still kind of go back to the point that we're not even supposed to be here yet. You know. You know, this is way far ahead. We are supposed to be fighting for that, you know, one of those two wild card spots. We're not supposed to be pushing for a Metro Division win. So I'm happy as anything that we're in this position in the playoffs right now. And I would be upset if we lost against the Rangers in the first round. If for some reason we don't play the Rangers,
dude, I'd be devastated. I wouldn't be able to show my face. There's so many kids I teach that are like diehard Ranger fans that I like talk trash to. Dude, I would not be able to show my face in school. It'd be horrible.
Yeah. I don't want to have to show my face on Mondays if we lose to the Rangers. But again, we have this opportunity to, like you said, we can go far. And I really hope that we do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, it's funny because Geeky actually has a great point now. He said, we were supposed to be about where Buffalo and Ottawa are right now. And I think that's where a lot of people predicted the Devils to be. And to a man here, I don't think any of us here at the beginning of the season could have said, middle of March, the Devils would have 100 points and they would have clinched a playoff spot and battling for the top of the Metro. There's no way in hell anybody out there, even listen, we're all diehard Devil fans, but we're also pretty realistic about this team. And there's no way that anybody was like, yeah, bro, 105 points this season. It's like, okay. True, man. This has been one hell of a ride so far. Let's see how far it can go.
It has been. And I'm all about that. And let's just ride this into the playoffs. Just go with it, with what you can, and ride it into the playoffs, and go from there and just see what's there. It's house money at this point, as far as I'm concerned. We're ahead of schedule. It's definitely house money. This is their first. Well, then it's victory or victory or death.
Victory or
to quote George Washington. To quote George Washington, victory or death. But I'm happy to be here. I want to beat the Rangers. After that, I don't care. I mean, I do care. Don't get me wrong. I would love to win the Stanley Cup, but just as long as we beat the Rangers, that's really what I would want. This way I could just tell Billy Dean to shove it on Mondays.
Start saying anything. He's like, hey, how's it? Shut up. We beat you.
Well, I do that already. Whenever he brings up anything about the draft, I was like, yeah, how about the Hugh Jessman draft?
Yeah.
He knows it's coming too. Man. That's the best part.
It's. I feel like that right now, as a Devils fan, like the next 9 games, I'm gonna have like that. The interest in watching it, and I'm gonna still watch it the same way. But I'm still gonna be like checking the standings every day, making sure like seeing where they're at, and not uneasy about it, but maybe more like, okay, like getting excited about where they're going to sit and who they're going to play. But it feels there's like a sigh of relief because when they clinched yesterday and when they won last night, it was like this big, like, whew, all right, this big relief. Like, all right, cool, good, we're in it. Phase, like Lindy Ruff said after the game, phase 1 is complete. And now the more important one, phase 2. Don't go out there and waste everything we did during the season on a crappy performance in the playoffs. Like, guys need to show up. This is why we brought Palat here. We need somebody. We need that closer. We need somebody who's going to be the clutch playoff performer. And that's where Palat's like, oh, hold on, guys. Watch what I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Very calmly.
Yeah. And he probably would. And I think he's going to be worth his weight in gold for that, for having that experience. Halla's going to have that experience. So these guys that are coming in with experience are going to really be a huge help for this young team. And Lindy Ruff has been there too. Let's not forget Lindy Ruff was one skate in the crease callback of a goal from continuing on the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's true.
But so he's been there as well. So he knows what it takes to get there. And he also knows what it's like to get there and not win.
Yeah.
He knows what it takes to get there and how difficult it is and how irregular getting there really, truly is. I mean, Palat, he's been on this, cap, the Tampa Bay cap circumventions and have gotten there with, questionable mathematics, but there's guys with experience, and it's not across the team, but it's definitely enough there that the young guys should hopefully listen.
And who else has 3 rings and has a hell of a lot of experience in the playoffs and Stanley Cup Finals? Standing on the bench, Mr. Sergei Brylin. There's on that bench that coaching staff that they have too is got some experience. I almost pulled a Grant Marshall there, but they have a lot of experience. And I'm sorry, I'm like choking down cough drops, but and that also goes a long way, because there is times where you're in a high pressure situation and coming off the ice, somebody like Jack might feel that extra pressure because he feels the stadium rise up when he has a breakaway. He feels the cheers. He feels that pressure on the ice. And if he doesn't, then he's got, ice cold blood running through his veins. But he definitely feels that. And you don't want somebody like Jack to get into his own head and be like, oh, I can't finish now. I can't do this. So, which, by the way, the fact that he's heating up now, perfect. It's exactly what we need.
Oh, yeah.
And we need guys like Timo, guys like Jack, guys like Nico to take, step out there in the ice and prove why, 2 of those guys were the number 1 overall pick. prove why we brought Timo over here.
Mhm.
Why Jesper Bratt's looking for the big contract.
Yeah, and that could be to our benefit as well. Like Jesper Bratt could, wants that big contract, and eventually Timo's got to be re-signed. So those guys have to prove out in the playoffs. So do it now. Show why. Show us why you should be re-signed for the money you want, and this is the time to put up or shut up in the playoffs. Become the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to step up to do this? And then, really, what I think one of the big question marks, and I hate to point this out, but who's going to be our starting goaltender? Because Vitek just has not looked like the Vitek of earlier in the season, and I would love him to.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're saying play him 6 of the last 9. One of the things I heard when we were playing Florida, I think it was, that Florida chased him from the playoffs last year. I think it was Florida. I think it was last year. They were talking about Florida chased him from the net in with Washington, and he never returned. So we need him to kind of get out of that headspace and to do much better as far as the starter. If he's going to be the out and out starter, I was surprised the other night to hear Akira Schmid get pulled. I think that's the first time he's been yanked all season.
Yeah, I mean he let up 3 goals in like 5 shots. I mean, 2 of them were definitely not his fault. One of them he probably should have had, but I mean, I think it was just Lindy was looking just to kind of
right the ship,
shake it up. I don't think he pulled him because he was like, oh, he's having a horrible game. He was not playing well, but I think he more did it to kind of kick the team in the ass and be like, dude, look at what you made me do. You screwed this poor kid over, and now I got to pull him out.
Well, still, I think that's the first time that, if I'm not mistaken, that might be the first time he's been pulled all season.
I think you're right.
I was surprised when that happened, but now and then we have the question: who's going to be the backup? Is it going to be Schmidt? Is it going to be Blackwood? Blackwood definitely looked a little shaky in the beginning of the game, but he turned it on towards the end, and he was able to get the win. So he has a lot to prove, but his durability is the question. His skills are not the question. It's his durability and his decision making. And you want to make sure the goaltender that's going to make smart decisions in the playoffs.
And here's something that Mark on a YouTube live just said, what do you think about the goaltending situation? Give Blackwood another 1 to 2 year contract, although he's often injured. And Geeky had a great point right after that is, I think Blackwood is gone in the offseason unless he goes nuts in the playoffs. And that's the thing, is if he becomes like a playoff hero, then yeah, you could see him getting another contract. But the thing is, I don't think he's going to be the number 1. I think it's going to be Vitek. And it's almost guaranteed Vitek is going to, I said this last night, Vitek is going to give up 2 goals every game. That's just what happens. He lets up 2 goals. After that, he could be lights out, but he lets up 2 goals. The Devils just need to be able to score more than 2. Sustain the offensive pressure.
Yeah.
Blackwood, I've always liked Blackwood, but he has that I'm amazing, and then holy cow, this guy is garbage, all in the same game.
Oh, that's his decision making.
You can't trust him.
It's his decision making.
You pointed out. You pointed out in that first goal again, the Brady Tkachuk goal. Do you want to tell everybody what happened in that first goal that you said he did wrong?
Oh, I forget what his angle looked off. I forget exactly what I told you guys, but it's definitely his angle was off on that one, and it was something else that he just didn't look very good. He didn't look set either. But again, you're going to have that type of situation. Bad setup. Yeah. So he wasn't really set up very well, and I just found my text to you guys, and it was bad angles, but. That was also a bad giveaway too. So he's got to get set really quickly in that situation. It's also his first game back, and that's that was a good shot. You got to give some credit on that shot too. That was a good shot. But he definitely looked shaky in the beginning because it was his first game back. But
yeah.
Yeah,
I believe play, like February 18th or 19th or something like that.
Something like that. I mean, he'll play lights out, but then he'll make such a bonehead decision. You're like, what the hell game are you watching? What was that
Yeah.
decision? It's
I
like,
forget
what the hell?
there was a game he played out like unreal the entire game. The Devils go into overtime, and he let up the softest goal in overtime, and it was like it just felt like the typical Blackwood moment where it's like I'll stand on my head, I'll make these crazy sprawling saves, I'll be a stone wall in there, and then all of a sudden I'll spring a leak and let in this little softy of a goal. At the
That wasn't the
usually
Carolina
at the
game,
most,
was it?
it might have
It was
been,
against
and it was like at
Carolina?
the most, it could 100. You might be right, but it's always at like the most inopportune times. It's like I'll be great, and the Devils will score a goal, and it'll be like a huge momentum swing, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'll just give it right back, guys. Don't worry." It's the Kraken game.
Oh, it was Kraken game?
Yeah, that's
I
what
just go
Selecta
back.
said.
Yeah, I go back to that Carolina game where he made one of the dumbest plays to go play the puck, and then he was lights out after that. It's like, who the hell are you?
What are you? Somebody, what are you?
But I think
Yeah.
his durability is definitely the biggest question over, and that inability to be durable is going to lead to these poor mistakes because he's not getting consistent playing time. He's not playing every game, every other game. So
Yeah.
when you're not in the net making those decisions day in and day out, you're going to make boneheaded decisions because you're not. I know these guys are professionals, but you still got to get into the flow of the game, and you still got to be ready to play, and you still got to be, in that mindset. So it's a tough one with him.
Yeah, and you can't even blame the coaching staff because he's also hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, he can't get into games because he's in and he starts playing decent, and then boom, oh, something's wrong with Blackwood. Oh, he's on the IR. For how long? Whoa, undetermined. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
That's what sucks about it because you see the potential. I remember at one point it was like the conversation, who's going to be the Metro's best goaltender? Is it going to be Carter Hart or is it going to be Mackenzie Blackwood?
Black. Yeah.
And it
I
wasn't like us.
conversations.
It wasn't us saying it. It was like the NHL Network was saying it.
Yeah.
There was people that were actually getting paid to do what we do, and they were talking about it. So it sucks. Like you see it, and I have that fear that he'll go somewhere else and he'll find that magic, or he'll finally stay healthy. And that's it. But
that's the business. That's kind of the business of it all. Because who knows what that durability is, and having. I mean, look at Pittsburgh. They have neither their goalies are durable, and they have goaltending issues. Jari or DeSmith, like between the two of them, that and they make boneheaded decisions.
Yeah.
It's one of those things to find a durable, smart, good goaltender. I mean, we lucked out. Brodeur was very rarely injured until towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
We never had extended periods of time where he was hurt. Vasi has never gotten really hurt for Tampa, if he's gotten hurt at all. There's consistency in goaltending right there. That's the teams that have success are the ones that can ride a goaltender for years.
That was like Braden Holtby
in Washington.
When he was with Washington forever. There was talks that he would have been one of the few goalies that could have like a serious run at Brodeur's record of wins because he was so consistently, and I think he tied Marty's record for most wins in a season. And it was like, oh, he was great, and then he started getting injured, and that's the thing. Yeah, the durability of these guys is, you just got to find somebody like Vasilevsky is a unicorn these days.
Oh, totally. And I will tell you that as a goaltender, once you're hurt once, it's always in the back of your mind, unless you're fully confident. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Some injuries that once you have them, you kind of always worry.
Like your groin, your knee.
Yep, I've had both those injuries. So they're always kind of in the back of your mind when you're playing. As much as it's not like you think about it every save or every move you make, but you tweak something a little bit and you're like, uh-oh, you kind of pull up a little bit. So it's one of those things that there are definitely some injuries where you're like, this is not the right one to get.
Yeah. Dude, it's like I think about Linus Ullmark and what he's doing in Boston right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wasn't he like the tandem goalie in Buffalo last year?
He was.
Like, could barely like string together
Last year, the year
a couple
before,
of
forget.
wins. I believe it was last
Yeah.
year.
It's amazing.
And that's
how
my
he
fear
goes,
of like Blackwood would leave the Devils and like go to Toronto and then be the next Linus
still-
Ullmark. He'd
In
still
no
lose in
way.
the first round,
not,
but
not in Toronto, because Toronto does, yeah, they still lose. Well, not this year. They could get out of the first round against Tampa.
yeah,
It's possible.
it is possible.
I'm looking up when Ullmark was traded to Boston. Let's see. Playing career, blah, 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 blah. Oh, come on. Just show me.
Can Blackwood make it to the playoffs without being injured?
That's a good question. Yeah, he was a Buffalo.
That is a good
last year,
question.
Ullmark. Jeez.
What was his record? Do you have his record from last year by any chance?
Ullmark?
Pick up some. Yeah.
With the Buffalo Sabres, played 20 games, was 9-6-3.
9-6-3.
Yeah.
And now he's like, he got the best record
Up for
in the league
Vezina.
by far.
Up for the
Up for
Vezina.
Vezina.
Yeah. Up for
Going
Vezina.
from 9-6-3. They should check his water bottle. I think there's some PEDs in there or something like that.
Hey,
I'm just
I'll tell
kidding,
you
by
what,
the way. I'm
having
not
a
making that as a real statement. I'm just kidding.
I will tell you this from experience. Having a strong team in front of you can really change your game as a goaltender. I mean, look at you want to see another complete opposite of that example. Look at Gibson in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Guy's making 50-plus saves some games and losing. He should be able to punch all of his teammates in the face for that.
Dude, that's
that's the worst. When you put all that effort in, make 40-plus saves, and you still lose. It's like, where are you guys? I'm doing my job. You're not doing your jobs defensively either.
the only comparison to that is like Mike Trout and Ohtani out in
Anaheim.
oddly enough, Anaheim as well for the Angels.
Anaheim, yeah.
Where it's like I read something the other day, which is so true. It's like Mike Trout could go 4 for 4 with like 4 home runs. Ohtani could pitch into the 7th with like a near perfect game and go 3 for 4 on the at bat, and the Angels would still lose 8-5. So
sounds like
it's kind of like
what it's been
Gibson.
like to be a Mets fan. It's like what it's like to be.
Oh
a Mets fan.
yeah. Jacob deGrom has a perfect game going to the 8th, but somehow the Mets lose 13 innings, 1-0.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, no, it's I would love to see Mac Black survive it through to the playoffs, which I'm assuming he should, knowing that it'll be probably him and Schmidt as the backups rotating. I would assume. So he's not gonna. It's not like he's gonna get more than four games at max to get injured, unless we're counting warm-ups. And if he gets injured in warm-ups, then you know that there's no hope for him staying injury-free for all too long.
Yeah.
4 games max. If it's 4, to me that would be a lot.
Ooh,
So.
oh my! Just had a great point, and I know we're going to wrap up here soon. And Steven, to answer your question, who starts Game 1 of the playoffs? I think it's VTech. I think VTech not only should, but he's earned the right. He's earned the right to get that number 1 start. But oh my! Just said Blackwood might not even be on the playoff roster. Schmidt is eligible and earned a spot. Blackwood might just be getting playing time to showcase him to keep him fresh in case of an emergency, and that 100% could be true. There's also some there's also speculation that Lindy Ruff trusts Mackenzie Blackwood over Akira Schmid, which weird. Okay,
Yeah.
but if that's the truth, they can't carry 3 goalies once they get fully healthy. Yeah, so I mean, you have to look at what is it? Does he have to? I don't think he has to pass through waivers. Schmidt does not have to pass through waivers to go back and forth from Utica.
But most teams carry 3 goalies during the playoffs anyway?
I don't know. I have to check.
I think
that
they
out.
do. I think most teams carry 3 goalies into the playoffs.
It's been a long
anyway.
time.
Yeah, I know it's been a long time.
We don't
That's
even
why
know.
We don't know these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
We don't know these answers.
We didn't
How
even
the hell are we
have
supposed to
3
know?
goalies back in 2018. All we had was Kincaid and Schneider.
And a broken Schneider.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What an experience that was.
Yep.
Talk about, like, going in, like, this is cool, man. All right. Thanks for here.
Hey, playoffs. Hey, you know what I'm glad I didn't do that playoff series? Is rush out and buy a really expensive Game 4 playoff ticket. I saw them win Game 3.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, "Oh, I gotta get to Game 4," and they all like spent a ton of money on these tickets just to watch the Devils lose. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good with watching a Game 3 victory, and then watching the rest from home.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's about right. Well, all right, Shorts Guy, I think it's time for us to give our final thoughts of the night.
Okay.
You want to go first, or?
I will. I have one final thought going into this week. The Rangers suck. That's it.
Damn straight.
That's my final thought going into this week. Rangers suck.
Yeah. I echo those sentiments, and I want to say don't sleep on the Islanders tomorrow. Use this game because the Islanders are fighting for their life too. They don't have it fully locked up all the way either. So this is a good.
They're doing well now.
Test.
They're scoring.
They
now.
are, and this is a good test.
Not their last game, but
yeah, but this is a good test for the Devils because the Islanders they have a lot of experience on a team that's a well tested, they're a team. They're a team that we should be playing and taking serious. Is probably what I'm getting to. So my final thought is go into tomorrow and look at it as like another game that's going to test you to be playoff ready. Because if you go out there and you drop an easy game, you make stupid game. Like if you go out there and you play like you played against Buffalo, against the Islanders, and you get smoked, then you need to take a good long look in the mirror and say, are we ready for the playoffs? Start
good point.
Getting ready. This is the game that we really put the measuring stick up. So start getting ready. Start getting geared up. Let's go.
I like it. Sam?
My final thoughts, I think this is going to be the week where the Devils can catch up and possibly surpass the Hurricanes. I know that may be a reach, but they've got 4 games. And maybe by Sunday night, just maybe by Sunday night, they've done it. Because they play the Islanders tomorrow. Take care of business. The big one is against the New York Rangers on Thursday. Game Day Live and Devils After Dark at American Whiskey. Then to Chicago, where Vinny Parisi will be, coincidentally. And then the second half to back-to-back to try to finish the annexing of Canada when they play Winnipeg. That's 8 points right there, guys.
Could be.
And Carolina has a tough schedule ahead. They have to play Tampa. Who do they play today?
They got a hell of a schedule, though.
Yeah, they play Boston, don't they?
They played Boston.
They lost to
Boston won
Boston.
they won in a shootout.
Yeah,
See,
Boston.
that's the difference between Carolina and the Devils. It's the shootouts. That's the difference right there. But the Devils still have a chance to catch up, I think.
They do. They just got to take care of business. That's it.
Yep.
Clean it up, boys. Put on your helmet. Time to go out there.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I want to thank all those tuning in, dropping the podcast at midnight for your morning and afternoon commute. Game Day Live tomorrow with Vinny Parisi and I, and of course, Devils After Dark after the game, recapping the game that was. Well, boys, it was a heck of a weekend, and I can't wait for Thursday. I can't wait for Thursday. It's good. Beer Baron, are you going? I forgot to ask you.
I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of up in the air.
Okay.
There's
Your
a possibility,
game
but
Game
Game
time
time decision. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Till next time, let's go Devils.